Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we are going to discuss UPSC syllabus orientation, book list, pattern, trend analysis, and strategy for UPSC mains of GS Paper 2, Indian Polity and Constitution segment students. So we'll be having a detailed discussion, what is the approach and roadmap, how we should ready ourselves for writing the UPSC mains 2026. So let's go into the syllabus of Indian Polity and Constitution in GS Paper 2 students. In GS Paper 2, overall we have a weightage of 250 marks. So in that, Indian Polity and Constitution is a part of the syllabus. So Indian Constitution, historical underpinnings, evolution, futures, amendments, significant provisions and basic structure. All these are given in Laxmikanth books and as well as in NCERT book on Indian Constitution at Work. So we can refer that as a good resource for this aspect of syllabus. Functions and responsibilities of the union and the states, issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure, devolution of powers and finances up to the local levels and challenges therein. Again, all these are mentioned in our Laxmikanth as well as Indian Constitution at Work, that is at the 11th standard NCERT book. Separation of powers is also mentioned there between various organs, dispute redressal mechanisms and institutions. So this is where we need to prepare additionally students by referring selective reference books also. In comparison of Indian constitutional scheme with that of other countries, for this aspect of the syllabus, we can refer Vajiram and Ravi Yellow Book for selective reading and try to make some effective use of topos notes as well for this particular aspect of comparison of Indian constitution with other countries students. And coming to the parliament and state legislature, here we need to study structure, functioning, conduct of business, powers and privileges, and issues arising out of these. All these are also covered in Laxmikanth in a very good manner. Structure, organization, function of executive and judiciary, ministries and departments of the government, pressure groups, formal and informal association and their role in polity is also covered in Laxmikanth. With respect to salient features of RP Act students, we can expect more questions. So we need to refer for salient features as well as Vajiram and Ravi Yellow Book for this aspect of syllabus. Appointment to various constitutional posts, powers, functions and responsibilities is covered in Laxmikanth. Statutory, regulatory and various quasi-judicial bodies is also covered in Laxmikanth and basic NCERT books. So only for two component of the syllabus, comparison of Indian constitution and salient features, we need a good reference of Vajiram and Ravi Yellow Book students. So let's go into the book list detailedly. First, let's focus on the NCERTs. With respect to new NCERTs, the 11th standard political science NCERT on Indian Constitution at Work. This is a must-read NCERT students when you are appearing for GS Paper 2, Indian Polity and Constitution aspect, because most of your syllabus component has been covered in this single book in a very good manner. So try to read this book minimum 2 to 3 times before appearing the UPSC mains exam. Let's now go to the standard textbook. So Indian Polity by Laxmikanth, we can use it as a single source reference for covering 90% of the syllabus of Indian Polity and Constitution. So only for 10% of the syllabus, we need to go for reference book students. So let's now move to the reference book. With reference to reference book students, we need to cover Vajiram and Ravi Yellow Book. This particular Vajiram and Ravi Yellow Book printed material is available in Amazon as well as Flipkart students. You can download it and you can refer this particular material selectively for comparison of Indian Constitution and salient features of RP Act. So we can use this material part 1 and part 2. Let's now focus on the recent UPSC 2025 mains questions which were asked from Indian Polity and Constitution aspect. Overall students, there were 9 questions out of 20 questions were asked from this part of the syllabus. So it carries a good amount of weightage. Nearly almost half of the question is coming from Indian Polity and Constitution aspect. So we must understand the importance of reading Laxmikanth students. But we need to update ourselves also with current affairs, which I will talk in this value addition component. Let's now focus on the question. Discuss the corrupt practices for the purpose of RPA Act. Analyze whether the increase in the assets of legislators and their associates disproportionate to their known source of income would constitute undue influence and consequently a corrupt practice. Overall students, this particular question is asked from RPA Act. As I said already, for this particular aspect of the syllabus, we can refer Vajiram and Ravi Yellow Book, and we can easily address this question. Only thing what we need to take care is we need to address the components of the question, because this question itself has been segmented. There is a first half of the question discuss, second half of the question analyze whether the increase that will lead to. So they are asking you to give your opinion also whether it would constitute undue influence and constitute a corrupt practice. So while writing this analyze, we need to talk about both positives and negative students. So dimensions are very important in analysis, along with the various data. So that is the relevant sections of RPA, whichever you are going to quote in this particular answer is going to fetch extra marks students. So we need to write challenges as well as solutions. That is the way forward before the conclusion. So that is also going to add more marks for our answer students. Let's now focus on the second question. Comment on the need of administrative tribunals as compared to the court system. Assess the impact of recent tribunal reforms through rationalization of tribunals made in 2021. So overall, there are two components in the question. So there should be two subheadings, and try to address the directives effectively, students. One is comment. Comment means we can either support the question, whatever they have given, or you can take a stand against it, or you can take a balanced stand. So we have three particular dimensions in common question. Assess means you can assess it positively, negatively, or balancedly also, but you should try to convey your answer in an assessment perspective. That is how the language of the answer has to go here. Let's now focus on the third question. Compare and contrast. So compare means we have to write the similarities, students. Contrast means we need to write the differences. Both has to be covered in a good manner in this particular question. And they are asking about the president's power to pardon in India and USA. So they are specific about the pardoning power. Then are there any limits to this in both the countries? What are the preemptive pardons? So overall, students, there are three segments in the question which we need to answer properly. Not only that, we should address also the directives as to compare and contrast in a good manner, students. And the maximum page is only 2 pages for a 10 marker. So we need to keep that in mind while presenting the answer. Discuss the nature of Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly after the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019. Briefly describe the powers and functions of the Assembly of Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. So it is a current affairs oriented question, but it has been picked up from 2019 Act, students. But with respect to Constitution, this is going to be very, very important. It's a newly formed state. And with respect to linguistic reorganization or creation of any new states in India, their questions are frequently asked in UPSC mains examination. So it is asked in that perspective only. So we can easily answer this, but we need to keep in mind the two segment of the question. Fifth question, the Attorney General of India plays a crucial role in guiding the legal framework of the Union government and ensuring sound governance through legal counsel. Discuss his responsibilities, rights and limitations in the regard. So overall, students, in this particular question, they are asking you to discuss the Attorney General, especially his responsibility or powers, rights and limitations. So we should have all these dimensions that is submitting in our answer. But we should also try to write a way forward before the conclusion. There is a road ahead path we need to view for the Attorney General. Let's now focus on the sixth question. Constitutional morality is the fulcrum which acts as an essential check upon the high functionaries and citizens alike. In view of the above observation of the Supreme Court, explain the concept of constitutional morality and its application to ensure balance between judicial independence and judicial accountability in India. So it is a 15 marker question, students. We need to keep in mind, we need to write the answer for 3 pages. So we need to segment the question in a proper manner. Body of the answer. The main focus of the question is on the meaning of constitutional morality and its application. So overall, you can segment it into two components and try to effectively address the concept or philosophy of this constitution that this question is asked with, that is constitutional morality. So we need to give various examples also from current affairs while presenting the sixth question. Let's now focus on the seventh question. Indian Constitution has conferred the amending power on the ordinary legislative institutions with a few procedural hurdles. In view of this statement, examine the procedural and substantive limitations on the amending power of the Parliament to change the Constitution. So question is from amendment of the Constitution. Easy question. Only thing we need to do examine. So we need to write both positive and negatives of this particular concept, especially the concept of amending power of the Constitution and how it can be changed. You need to examine it in a correct perspective. Then only we can fetch maximum marks, students. Coming to the eighth question, discuss the evolution of collegium system in India. Critically examine the advantages and disadvantages of the system of appointment of the judges of Supreme Court of India and that of USA. So again, one more comparative comparison of Indian Constitution question only. One question they are asked about to compare USA and India's president power. Another question they are asking about the comparison of judges of Supreme Court of India and that of USA. So you need to cover comparison of Indian Constitution in a very good manner, students. Kindly understand that. And for doing that, we need Vajraman Ravi Yellow Book, which can give you good value addition notes. Okay, in this eighth question, we need to understand. First segment of the question is on evolution of collegium system. So please try to talk about all the first judge, second judge, third judge cases, and then the coming of collegium system. Then we can focus upon critically examine. We need to write both positive and negative. That is, they have quoted that advantages and disadvantages of the system, and we need to compare it also. So comparison perspective should be present in the second half of the answer. Ninth question, examine the evolving pattern of the center-state relations in the context of planned development in India. How far have the recent reforms impacted the fiscal federalism in India? So federalism or fiscal federalism is going to be very, very important topic, students. While writing this or concluding the answer, we should try to bring in various committees' recommendations. And while doing examination, we need to talk about both the positives and negatives of center-state financial relations with the help of Finance Commission recommendations and various examples also through current affairs, students. Let's now focus upon the pattern of Indian polity and constitution, the mark-wise distribution in the last 10 to 12 years, students. If you look at it, in 2025, 110 marks were asked out of 250 marks. That comes around nearly 44%, students. Almost half of the questions are picked from your Laxmikanth book only. So you need to understand the importance of the book and its role in GS paper 2. Okay, overall, a lesser number of questions have been asked, that is around 70 marks in 2013 and 14. But other than that, the highest mark amounts to 125 marks, students. So that is almost 50% weightage it played in some year in 2023, 2020, then 2019. Other than that, we can easily expect 100 to 110 marks for the coming year also. For the students who are preparing for UPSC Mains 2026, try to keep in mind, first whenever you are starting GS paper 2, read the Laxmikanth book and cover this aspect of the syllabus. Okay, let's now focus upon the trend analysis, students. Questions we have clearly seen, they are not just static or direct questions. Lot of conceptual and detailed lengthy question, analytical and even current affairs linked questions are playing a huge role after 2018 onwards. So you need to understand that is a trend. So GS paper 2 questions will be lengthy. So you need to properly address the question by putting various subheadings, students. And we also need to understand with respect to syllabus, there are some recurring themes. That is 4 recurring themes. First one is judiciary and constitutional philosophy. This year also there is a question on constitutional morality. So please understand, students, you need to read these terminologies or constitutional philosophy separately and you have to do notes making on that. And the key topics with respect to judges are collegium system, tribunals. And coming to federalism, this is the second important topic. You can easily expect question. So try to have varieties of examples and committees recommendations for this topic. Here the key topics are center-state relation, governor's role, and any agencies like CBI, they have asked in the past. Coming to the third most important topic, comparison of constitution. Here they have asked to compare India versus USA and then France and Britain. These 3 countries have been asked. So try to revise this effectively. And whenever you are preparing this topic, try to make a notes in a tabular column format by comparing in a various point-wise format, students. Then only we can easily remember and recall in the exam. And coming to the fourth most important topic, elections and RP Act. Here, this year also there was a question on corrupt practices. But other than that, they used to ask the various sections such as disqualification and then election disputes, EVM controversies, all this. So try to prepare salient features of RPA by reading the various section numbers in a clear manner by making notes making. Other observable trends, you need to read constitutional bodies in a good manner, local governance, and various current affairs application-oriented topic, students. So try to cover that in that perspective. While reading the constitutional statutory bodies, try to have a proper notes making. Let's now focus on the strategy, what you need to do. While appearing for UPSC Mains 2026, you need to understand clearly, students, what is very, very important is like we need to read apart from Laxmikanth book, some selective chapters, some selective materials, as I said, like Vajraman Ravi Yellow book and some value addition material. I will be telling at the end of the video. So what is a strategy you can adopt successfully? First, try to read the static, that is Laxmikanth, in a good manner. Then try to do notes making separately for all the case laws, the important Supreme Court judgments, especially when you write about like Article 21, right to privacy, you need to talk about Puttaswamy judgment. In the same manner, you need to have a proper notes making for all the Supreme Court judgments. I have shared a separate PDF of the Supreme Court judgments in our Telegram group. Students, make use of that. So other than that, whenever you are reading the basic constitution, try to read the philosophical aspect, the terms in a clear manner, and try to have a 3 to 5 points notes on that. And comparison of constitution is going to be important. Try to have a comparison chart for India versus USA, UK, France, while comparing heads of state, judiciary, federalism, amendment powers. All these are very important. Accordingly, you should prepare students. So second most important phase in your preparation or strategy, like you need to always keep an eye in current affairs in Vision Monthly magazine or by reading the newspaper, the various new bills which has been introduced by the government where questions can be asked, and RPA Act, any new sections which are coming in newspaper, again questions can be asked. So keep an eye on that. When answer writing strategy is very, very important for polity students. Without article numbers and Supreme Court cases, you cannot write a polity answer. Please be very clear on that. That is why I have shared a separate Supreme Court judgments like in our Telegram group for writing answers effectively. With respect to article numbers, you can read it from Laxmikanth and try to have a separate notes on that. While presenting the body of the answer, always use legal terminology, students, and moreover, try to use various committees' recommendations such as like Sarkar Commission, that is Punchi Commission recommendations. All these can be quoted, and conclusion should be forward-looking. Often, it should cite basic structure or constitutional vision. So don't write anything against the constitution, students. Please be very clear on that. So answer writing should be optimistic when it comes to GS paper 2. Conclusion should balance with the constitutional principles. We should not contradict constitutional principles overall. And the priority topics for coming year, try to have a good preparation on delimitation, women's reservation, where question is long pending and it is expected in the coming year. Digital rights, you need to prepare the Data Protection Act versus right to privacy. Governor's discussion is again going to be important, and the UCC. So try to prepare on all these topics. Now, what is your mark-wise distribution and what is the approach you can take for GS Paper 2? Whenever you are preparing GS Paper 2, always start with Indian polity and constitution. This is a high priority area. It gets 44% of marks. Out of 250, around 110 marks comes simply from Laxmikanth book and some value addition resources. After covering this, then you move to governance topic. Then you can come to international relations and finally move on to social justice. So this is the order I will be suggesting to my students who are preparing for UPSC Mains 2026 examination. So what are the value addition resources? You can use or enrich your notes to get extra marks in exam. Use the Vajraman Ravi Yellow Book for selective topics such as salient features of RPA and comparison of Indian Constitution with other countries. With respect to Vision IAS magazine, try to read the current affairs bills and acts and Supreme Court judgments and add it to your notes making. UPSC toppers notes can be selectively like used for like repeating the kind of answer writing and the quality points which they have written. And the evaluation series from our YouTube channel of UPSC toppers answer copy and GS paper 2 can be referred for answer writing improvement. And try to keep always a track on the current affairs to stay updated and address the question in a current affairs perspective, students. So this is how you need to get ready for the UPSC Mains 2026 in Indian polity and constitution syllabus aspect. And if you have any further queries on this aspect of preparation, try to comment your queries in the comment section below. We will respond to that. Thank you, students.